Y'all ready for this?
What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan. Welcome to Always More Line, the talk show podcast. I don't know. We're going to figure that part out.
What's up, Danny? DJ Dollar Dan coming in live.
Hey, Ryan, you address me as Justin. I would like for you to address me as my actual name, please.
All of me loves all of you. Okay, that's fine. That's totally fine.
No problem.
We got Dante McCoy in the top left. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, everybody?
Welcome, episode 1, the inaugural episode. Joining us right away is guest host today, Carlo Edra. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, Fletcher?
Hello.
Carlo, tell us about yourself, man. Who are you? Where do you work? What do you do? What's your involvement with the community? Talk to us.
I am I'm the head coach at NJCU, New Jersey City University. Also the head coach of Team Freedom. In volleyball community, that's it, man. Volleyball is my life. It's what I do for a living. That's good. That's it, man.
So, where is New Jersey City University?
NJCU is located in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Get the fuck out of here.
Most of the kids are local, trying to branch out. Before, back in the day when I was there the first stint, we did have some guys coming all over different parts of the country. It has been more localized the last couple of seasons, so we're trying to broaden our reach there at the university.
Carlo, we're going to have you kind of like stay on tonight as our guest host. You can log off or comment and jump in on anything you want to. We have about 8 guests that are scheduled to come on tonight and talk about a whole bunch of different things, mostly volleyball related, but also some other options as well. Before we get started, though, I'd like to ask you to play a little game with us. It's called Name the Opposite. You have to name the opposite of whatever I say as quick as you can.
All right, let's do it.
Ready?
Yep.
Salt.
Pepper.
Red.
Blue.
Tall.
Short.
Big.
Small.
Cat.
Dog.
Alligator.
I want to say crocodile, but that's not the opposite.
Libero.
Middle.
Saturday.
Monday.
Pasta.
No pasta.
Water.
Wet.
Alcohol.
Hip hop. You're too
I
slow.
don't even know what the opposite of hip hop is.
Let's go.
Silver.
Gold.
Dr. Doolittle.
Doctor Who.
Hard.
Soft.
Stop.
Go.
High.
Not high.
Jump.
Jump. Stand still.
Fast.
Slow.
Curve.
Straight.
Coffee.
Water.
Sleep.
Awake.
Well done. Well done, lad. Well done. Very, very fast. How come we can't see Jason? We must see him.
You don't want to see him. Here, this is what he looks like. Look at this. This is what he looks like.
Oh, that is what he looks like. You got
That is accurate.
That's it. Perfect. Mike, just introduce yourself, kind of tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you do for the volleyball community, and then we'll ask you a few questions and get some topics going here.
I'm Mike Vaughan. I'm a volleyball referee. Been refereeing for about maybe 15 years. I got some kids that are playing juniors volleyball. Been a long time player. Still play some 9-man volleyball.
For the most part, you've refereed at every level, right? I'm assuming at nationals, other than international at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've done everything from 10-year-old juniors volleyball up through the AVP.
Awesome. And I think one of the things that I know with this whole coronavirus thing going on is the clubs, the teams, the colleges, they've all been hugely affected by this. But one of the things I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is how the referees are affected by this. A lot of officials rely on that extra income, and they're not able to work matches now. So tell us a little bit about some of the stories that you've heard and your personal experience.
I mean, me personally, I've probably missed, probably 15 college men's matches, a bunch of tournaments, qualifiers. I haven't done anything in a couple weeks now. Missing out on just the camaraderie of doing it, getting to see everybody. You know, obviously going to miss out on some bucks. I've heard some people saying they've missed or they're projected to miss out on almost $10,000
Oh, wow.
So that's your argument if you're ever going to say referees are overpaid.
Yeah.
But so these people are grinding. I mean, people are working high school game, right? Then they're going to go try to do a men's college game on the weekends. They're going to try to do, a tournament on Saturday and on Sunday. They're going to try to do 3-day qualifiers. These guys are hustling. I mean, some people actually do it for a living.
Mike, tell us a little bit about, because I found this fascinating when you and I first chatted about it. Tell us a little bit about your personal career.
So I'm probably the world's only child abuse lawyer by day and volleyball referee by night. I have a job that, volleyball stuff. It definitely, keeps it real for me. Gives me something to look forward to because, my job is tough. We're putting the bad guys away. We're making sure that, kids are safe. We're pulling them out of crack mom houses. So yeah, we're doing a lot.
I appreciate that, and I envy that gig. I could probably speak for everybody on the panel. I've never met anyone who has that kind of a day job and then goes and hears crap from college coaches about bad calls all night and is able to still keep their sanity in check. So kudos to you, man. That's really awesome.
So how do you find that balance? Because those are kind of two polar opposites, right? You have a child abuse attorney on one that's kind of, I'm sure, a very high stressful job. And then you go to refereeing juniors that could be fun. So how do you kind of balance those two opposites?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to protect kids during the day, make sure that they're safe. If they're being abused, we're trying to put the bad guys in jail, whatever it is. And then I come to the weekend and, hey, I just want to keep the kids safe, give them a great opportunity to play. It is a great refresher and a good reminder. I mean, every single day I walk in the courtroom, I see kids that are coming from really tough situations. And then I go to the weekend, I see kids, hey, their parents are paying $2,000-$3,000 for the kids just to play volleyball. It's something a little bit different from my day job to my weekend job, but I love it. It keeps me sane.
Yeah, like Justin said, we really appreciate the work, that you do on that end. Being a referee is kind of a thankless job. You have parents yelling at you, you have coaches yelling at you. And for you to have that aggressive full-time job, I'm sure sometimes that attorney wants to come out and it's like, no.
It is. You're right. I mean, hey, my job as a lawyer is to enforce the law. My job as a referee is to make sure everyone's playing by the rules. What I do like about volleyball is we're flexible. We just want everyone to have a good time and play the game.
So one of the things that we wanted to do tonight, and the reason why we have you on at the same time with Jason, is we're all sitting at home thinking of ways to try to come up with more tournaments so that we can make up for the loss, especially if we're discussing like adult nationals, NBA events, all of these things that are being canceled. It's going to cause some conflict. So we're trying to think of solutions as to what we can do. Before we go into that, we'll have Jason just introduce himself, kind of tell everybody what you do, where you're from, and what you got going on.
Well, I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio. About 15 years ago, I made a move out to Las Vegas. And then from Vegas, I migrated down to Florida. I've been running events for about 15 years. I started running events at an arena in Vegas, doing about 250 events a year. Everything from Reba McEntire, Mr. Olympia. I mean, you name it, we did it. Then I had an opportunity in 2014 to start running my own events and just ran with it. Here we are today.
I specifically wanted to have you come on because you and I talk on a pretty regular basis, and we've developed a friendship to kind of like understand that we want to make volleyball, especially from an adult professional level standpoint, awesome. And I think you are a really important piece to that puzzle. So just talk to us about some of the events that we could possibly have this summer if nationals and NBA events are canceled, and kind of where those will take place.
I mean, we have a strong relationship with Caesars Entertainment. So anywhere they have a venue, we can potentially do an event at. The challenge with us is we're not the only show in town. Everybody's trying to move dates around because everything has been canceled over the last, 6 weeks. So on our side, it's talking to you guys. You tell us, what works for you guys, where we can all come together, and then we can go out to the hotels and convention centers and
I guess
negotiate with them.
A big question that I would have is how many courts do you have available to like at any given time, and like how much goes into like preparing for the setup of a tournament? I got to see how much you had to deal with in Atlantic City this year, and I was amazed. I don't think a lot of people, especially parents, club parents, understand how much goes into making these tournaments happen. I hear parents all the time say like, how come they only have 11 chairs for this court? And it's like, oh my God, you have no idea how much setup that we had to do for this.
We moved to do more events in casinos, and the reason why we moved away from convention center is because they want to nickel and dime you on everything. I mean, one example is they charge you for chairs between $1.50 to $3 a chair. Are we good still?
Yeah, you're good.
Where'd I leave off? The chairs at $1.50, $3 a chair?
Yeah. You have to apparently pay for them.
And the nice thing with casinos, as we experienced in Atlantic City, having a venue connected right to the hotel is huge. We're a little bit different. We try to cultivate a cool experience for everybody, not just trying to charge outrageous amounts of money for entry fees and the gate fee. What Justin was talking about, we took all the club directors and coaches that we invited to Gordon Ramsay Steakhouse and had a nice steak dinner. I don't know a lot of tournament directors that do that or not, but that's something we want to kind of separate ourselves from, to give back to you guys, because without you, we wouldn't have it.
So just to touch on that, a tentative date of May 9th and 10th in Atlantic City is now being planned. Obviously, we have no idea when this coronavirus thing is going to go away or when we're going to be able to do things, but we've already gotten 30-plus clubs. Has that number changed, Jason, over the last day or two?
We're probably about 40.
So 40-plus clubs interested in playing in Atlantic City. And then I brought up the idea of us running some adult tournaments like we did for the event earlier this season in January. The amount of things that are being canceled and the lack of volleyball, I think if for whatever reason that weekend became available to people being socialized again, I think it would be a huge hit. And I think if we put it out there now and get an idea for it, I think it could be a really, really good opportunity, especially if Nationals is still happening. That's a really good warm-up tournament. So I'm very hopeful about that. Everything in my life has been stopped, as far as volleyball goes. And it's like we're sitting here every day trying to figure out ways, once this is back on, how can we make up for all that lost time? That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this podcast and talk to people, was because I want to hear what their ideas are and what they think we might be able to do or what they don't think.
Man, I mean, nobody really knows. So, courthouses are closed for another week. Schools are out. Some people say, hey, it's gonna pass. We're gonna be okay. We just heard Easter is our goal. But at the same time, you've heard from school districts that have canceled their entire school year and they're doing remote learning. So who really knows?
The tournament's going to be interesting because, USAV is desanctioning events. I'm not sure the route the AAU is going. But Jason, have you run into any issues as far as convention centers or hotels that are kind of weary to even plan something like this because of everything that's going on?
That's an understatement. Yeah, nobody wants to get into a position where, they're signing a contract and then they're on the hook for, and they're liable for it. Like Mike said, we don't know what to do. I mean, nobody does. And every region is different. SoCal region is still going. Texas is still going. But GIVA and, the OVR, they closed up for the years. There's nothing unified across the board. To answer your question about AAU, they made an announcement that April 1st, they're back up and running live. I don't know if that's going to change or not, but that's where they're at right now.
I think USA said April 15th is what I think.
April 15th. I know the Red Rock Rave out in Las Vegas, their event is Mother's Day weekend out in Vegas. That's the Southern California region. That's still on the books. Big
South rescheduled to June 5th and 7th. NEQ still hasn't. They said it's postponed. They haven't released a date. Same thing. I think Lone Star released it. I think it may conflict with adult nationals, though. So that's going to be interesting on how that affects their teams registered when those adults are playing.
Do you guys think that USA Volleyball at large is going to make a statement that is we're postponing dates and these events to X time? Or are they going to say something like, at this date, we'll reevaluate, right? Because some events are choosing a new start date and some events are saying in however many weeks, we'll let you know. Like, what do you think the larger plan is here?
I just think, hey, if you look at what's going on, everyone is just reactionary instead of being proactive. Everyone's saying, oh, hey, this governing body is shutting down this qualifier is postponing, this qualifier is canceling their event. And then as soon as that happens, then you got another one saying something very similar. And it's tough because nobody wants to take that responsibility. Who wants to, bring these kids in, then they go and see, grandma and grandpa, and then next thing you know, they're sick. It's a hard decision.
What do you guys think is the alternative for the decision that the Olympic Committee made? Pushing the Olympics back a year, do you think there was another alternative they could have went with?
They just took the safest route, it seemed like. If I was hosting a global event, I'd probably do the same thing, especially where the location was at, too.
I think part of the reason why it was just safer to go with the full year is because we don't know how long this whole process with the coronavirus is going to take. Say it gets delayed a couple months. Now we're moving into different seasons. You can't have these guys play in different conditions of that. What if it starts getting cooler outside and those outdoor events are no longer being played on the even playing field? I just think going the full year was the safe move. And, you know, sometimes the safe move is the best move.
Canada was actually the first country, I think, say, if you host this, we're not coming. And then everybody else kind of said, oh, all right, well, if you guys are willing to do that, we'll kind of do the same. The big one is the NBA, right? Once the NBA canceled their season, everybody had lost their shit. They were like, oh my God, the whole world is over. The NBA stopped. Like, that hasn't happened since Space Jam. Up until like 5 days ago, we were still going to have our NBA event in Las Vegas. We were going to still do it. You know, it just came down to most of the players feeling uncomfortable with attending, and I'm not going to force any guys to show up to something that they don't feel good about going to. I really appreciate you guys coming on. We're going to do this pretty frequently throughout the next week or so, since we have nothing else to do. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more serious like it was tonight, and a lot of times it won't. I wanted to get some higher level opinion from you guys, and I think the information that you've given to us is really awesome, and I hope everybody enjoys it. So thank you.
I do have like a little bit of a more casual question from a refereeing perspective. I feel like when I go to these big tournaments, I see the same refs all the time. I don't know if it's hard to come by new officials or if it's hard to convince people to start officiating. Do you think that there's a barrier to recruiting new officials? And do you think it's difficult to do that? Why are people potentially not willing to jump into the officiating? Do you think there's a barrier to that?
There's a couple reasons. Number one, do you want half the people in the gym to be mad at you all the time? It's tough. You got to deal with some crazy coaches every once in a while. Every time the ball's spinning, it's going to be a double. So yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think also the fact that you see the same people over and over again, I think that's really telling, right? That it means that there's not enough of us. How many of us do you see? You see them come to your court and you're like, uh-oh, it's that guy again. You know? You know, is there ever a time when you're like, oh God, thank you for bringing this guy? You know, that's not a lot of times, right?
So what can we do to change that? Like, other than, all right, we're going to pay these guys X amount of money. Like, what other things can we do to encourage people to officiate?
You know, we struggle as referees with that ourselves. Because, you know, do you think that we want to referee 9 or 10 games in a day? No. You know, like, we want to do like 5 or 6 and get out of there. Right, just like you. If we're up reffing and there's a player that's down reffing, you know, we're gonna say, hey, you do a nice job. You know, maybe you should consider doing this. You know, if you're not gonna play college volleyball, maybe you know you want to call lines at your college. Maybe we can get you as a referee for high school or juniors ball. Do a great job, learn the basics, and then move on up.
I do love that when referees take the time to speak to the boy or girl that's doing the second officiating and say like, hey, you're doing a great job, or maybe think about this. I think that interaction is super important for, I mean, the growth of the kid, right? Not even from a volleyball perspective, but from like a human to human interaction. I think those kids get a lot out of refs that are willing to go that extra mile and say like, you did a great job here, you know, think about this next time. So every time I see that, I absolutely love that interaction.
I was at a tournament this year, actually. I had an official. He was an African-American older guy. I've seen him before. He looks like a straight-up basketball dude. I love this guy. He's awesome. One of my girls was doing lines, and she kept talking to her mom while she was doing lines. And this ref blew the whistle at her and said, come here. If you're not going to pay attention, I'm going to get somebody else to do lines. And I love that because now if I'm the team that's playing, I'm going to go, okay, I'm getting a fair fight here. You know, I'm getting that situation that I'm looking for, and this referee knows what they're doing. The interaction with the kids needs to be a little bit more frequent, and it also needs to be sometimes super positive and sometimes a little bit more disciplinary. And then the other thing that I wanted to say, I think if we're more proactive as a volleyball community in telling officials that they can't be sensitive, that will help young officials getting into the officiating part of the game. I find a lot of officials really sensitive. They're so sensitive to what, like a coach stands up and goes, and boom, yellow card. Like, chill out. I'm just fighting for my team and letting my parents know that I am doing my job. I've never heard a parent say, I love the coach that just sits there on the bench and says nothing. That's not a thing. They want that coach to be up on the sideline and interacting. And when you let a referee know, like, hey, you might have saw it that way, but I saw it a different way. The parents love that. So it's if referees understand that part of the game, I feel like the tension will be so much less from the beginning, and I think it'll help.
I came from a player's background, right? So I was the guy yelling at the referee all the time. I knew it wasn't personal. You know, I knew, hey, I'm gonna say my piece. I'm gonna let you know that you blew that call, right? And don't do it again. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
When I started playing volleyball, there were some officials out there that were really, really good. But now I just feel like it's gotten significantly worse, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. What I mean by the officiating's gotten worse is not the actual knowledge of the rules. The sensitivity levels are just so high. A justifiable response to me doing this would be like a referee on the stand going, what do you want? Like, that would be fine. Now we're having fun. As soon as they start like, sit down and stop talking, as soon as you get up, it's just like, dude, relax.
Mike and I talk about this all the time because we're running out of referees, especially if there's tournaments on the same weekend. I coach at a community college in Ohio, and what we're trying to do with our girls in the off season is train them, get them certified as referees so they can start making potential extra scratch in the off season. Some of the bigger clubs, like Justin with yours, will side out, with your alumni. Maybe they're seniors or they're freshmen in college. You get them certified, and then they can make some extra money because it needs to start there because there's a limited supply of referees, and to be honest, they're dying. I mean, they're just getting old.
No, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Maybe you can touch a little bit upon what that process is becoming a referee. If anybody may do that. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I would like to ref," but they just don't know the process.
I mean, any tournament, come up and talk to one of the referees about how they did it. But it is really easy. I assume you're talking about USA Volleyball. You would go to the website. Most of the websites have something, hey, I want to be a referee. And they'll tell you the procedure, take a test, get rated. It scares off a lot of people who say, I got to get rated, I got to get observed. But hey, we want to work with you. We're not going to put you on any matches that you're not able to handle. So yeah, you take a test, get observed, do your clearances, and you're good to go.
We've been joined by Chris in the bottom over there. Hey, Chris, how are you? Just before we throw it over to Chris and chat with him a little bit, I got one more question from a tournament director perspective, from a referee perspective. Let's hear like a horror story from a ref with an interaction with a ref or as a ref. What's some outlandish interaction that you've had recently, or just one that off the top of your head?
Put me on the spot here.
I got one while you guys think. I got a really good one while you guys think.
Chris, please.
I'm watching NVL. This is probably 2014, maybe 2015. It's Eric Zahn and Skylar McCoy. I think they're in the semifinal or quarterfinal. It was game 3. I think Skylar or the ref maybe blew a call. It was a tough one, You know how it goes. Maybe it hit the line, maybe it didn't. That made it 14-13. Against Eric and Skylar. I think Skylar maybe muttered a curse word. Immediately, game over, ref ended it.
Red card.
No
game
way.
over.
Wow.
You can't be doing that. Maybe early in the game. It's brutal if you do that.
It's funny you said that because, me and Justin actually had a regionals one year experienced that with the club. It was the third set. It was 14-13. This club was down. The official made a call that the coach didn't like. He got up, said a couple curse words, boop, red card, and that lost them the bid.
Get a bid to go to nationals.
That lost them the bid.
A ref should not be making the call to end it if it's not going to be a volleyball play.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Mike, as an official, do you have an opinion of that? I don't want to stir the pot too much, but
no, I want to stir the pot.
Stir it.
Stir it.
All right, so let me ask you a question. Do NFL refs call pass interference with 1 second left?
Yeah. But did they call you cursed at me? Game over?
I think.
That's tough, man. It's
tough. I mean, because you're stepping inside to like the mind. Maybe he was like frustrated or frazzled.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I mean, it happens. It happened this year. I think it was maybe Seton Hall. They lost a match on a red card game point.
Yeah, Jesus.
It shouldn't happen. That's what I'm saying. I think as a referee, it's your job to let volleyball decide it.
Unless like Bobby Knight's throwing a chair, and then like maybe.
If I'm the ref, I would remove a coach before I end a game on a penalty to a coach.
Absolutely.
Jay, they try to kick you out, right?
Oh yeah, so I I got a double yellow in Winterfest this year, and the referee came down off the stand, walked across the court, came up to me. No social distancing issues at that time. Still in January. She goes, "You're done. You've been eliminated. You have to leave. You've been ejected." And I looked at her and I said, You don't know the rules. You don't know the rules.
Isn't that a yellow-red simultaneously?
It's not anything.
I don't know what a double yellow
No,
is.
there's no double yellow, but isn't an
I
expulsion?
don't know why you have 2 yellow cards in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
The main official came over, talked to her for about 4.5 seconds, walked over to me and goes, "I'm so sorry that happened. We're just going to play on. We're just going to keep going."
Justin has to remember this game. This is easily the most memorable match I've ever played in. It was the day of my father's funeral. And unfortunately, Justin also, his roommate, he was your roommate, right? Aaron?
Yeah.
He passed away the same week as my dad's funeral. So we're playing Hunter. We had just gotten slapped 2 sets. We were down 2 sets to none. Now we're down to the 4th set. They're up 24 to maybe like 22. So we win the next 2 points. And now we're just battling point after point. Our bench is going nuts because this game means something to all of us. This is probably the most emotional match I've ever been a part of. Our bench erupts on 1 point, and we get yellow carded. And I'm like, what is the yellow card for? The official goes, because you guys are getting too excited. You're not allowed to get that excited.
No. He said in a Spanish accent, "Everybody's yelling now loud." Jorge, one of our setters, is also, he's Cuban, he's Hispanic, and he goes, "Everybody's getting too excited." We got a yellow card because everyone was excited.
I remember saying to the ref, I was just like, we literally just came down from 22-24. Like, we were done. Match was over. Now we're like at 26-26, and you're telling me my team's too excited?
That happened to us a couple of times this past season in the girls during the girls season, to the point where the referee actually said, "You know what? If you guys are going to be that loud, look at the wall. Cheer at the wall."
Mike, we love you guys. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully you'll jump back on again soon. We hope to see you guys soon. And please keep us up to date with any news that you hear or find out.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Please. Thanks so much. We'll see you
Thanks.
later.
Take care, guys.
Man, I bet we could talk about refereeing forever. But
I could have went on.
we're joined by Chris. Chris Vaughan is a Stevens University player. He's played in the AVP, the NVA, and FIVB snow volleyball. So basically all of the elements. Chris, how you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on with your day-to-day now that you're in quarantine.
I'm good. Good to be interacting with anyone other than my roommate and my girlfriend a little bit. It's kind of fun to see some other faces, you know. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I'm trying to move around as much as I can while I'm cooped up in my house. It is what it is. You know, we're quarantined. We're making the best out of it over here.
So first of all, I met you on the bleachers at Stevens when you were a senior in high school. You were watching the Stevens alumni game, and you were like 18 years old, coming from South Jersey. And then,
is that real? Is that really where you met me?
That's a true story, yeah. You were kind of just hanging out watching. It was kind of like, I guess, like an unofficial recruiting visit for you. So that was, you know, probably 2014-ish.
I graduated high school in 2012. So probably 2012.
Yeah. Now, like, totally transformation 6-7 years later, we're talking about, like, all these different avenues of volleyball. Obviously, one of the marquee members of Team Freedom. So I just want everybody to understand who they're listening to and kind of how these journeys took place as quick as you can. Kind of like, you know, did they just happen, or were you seeking them? You know, kind of just chat a little bit about that.
I'll give you a quick synopsis as quick as I can of my volleyball life. My parents played, so I kind of picked it up from them. So I've kind of been around it a little bit. You know, my parents did pick up, nothing serious. Then at one point, my sister played in high school, but there was still no boys volleyball at my high school. So we found out about a boys club in South Jersey called South Jersey Volleyball Club. And I, you know, enjoyed it as much as I could. It's a pretty big club, so you don't get as much one-on-one as I think I was hoping for, and the competitive, you know, fight isn't quite as there as I would like it to be. There's a group of us that we really started, like, you know, going after it in the summers a little bit to get better. We were meeting with Quan Nguyen. We wanted to go for a little bit more serious club volleyball. This was my junior year of high school now. We started our own club called Quandomania Volleyball, and that consisted of me, Eric Zahn, John Cunningham, Kyle Farley, Kyle Pottiger, Dan Christmas, Taylor Arcaney, and Kevin Villela. I think that's how you say his last name.
Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah, huge shout to Kev there. So we started that on our own, and we were pretty successful my junior year, and that's when we really started, like, figuring out that we were good at volleyball. I didn't have volleyball in high school, so I was kind of like that weird kid that everyone was like, do you really play volleyball? I don't know. I wanted to play in college, but there's not a lot of engineering in volleyball schools. So Stevens was pretty much my main option. And if I could get in there, then I would go. I went there and ended up liberoing my first season as a freshman. I kind of remembered how to hit and probably learned some during the summer when I was playing a lot of beach volleyball.
Somebody just said, "Oh wow!" when you said I was a libero my freshman year.
I've known Chris for a long time, and he's always been a spiker, like crushing.
I don't think a lot of people know that. So Amable actually, at the time, he called me the night before one of the biggest matches of that season. I think it was either the quarterfinals or the semis of the national championship.
That was my junior year.
He goes, "I think we're gonna go with Vaughan at Lib," and I was like, "Wait, what?" I was so confused. This was like for a really big match, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, he's statistically just, is the guy."
All right, so I'll give you a rundown of that. So that whole junior season, that was we were hosting the NCAAs. That whole junior season, me, Dave Evans, and Tim Ferreter were splitting time at outside. We were all Americans previously, so it seemed, pretty fair that we split. And we actually had Gabe Shankweiler too, who was also an All-American. So Gabe got injured at the beginning of the season. So scratch Gabe, but 3 of us split time at outside. So then leading to the finals, they made the decision, or the playoffs, they made the decision that Dave and Tim were going to be the OH1 and OH2, and I was kind of ready to hop in. Semifinal match, Dylan Schlosser was at libero our whole season, and he was kind of struggling a little bit. I think it was game 4 when they put me in and we were down. And then they just left me in for the finals too. So
that's what it was. Yeah. I think that's awesome because we talk so much as volleyball coaches and volleyball minds about young volleyball players who are outside hitters, let's say, but they always come to me and they go, "Coach, I'm only 5'7" or 5'8". So I think I'm going to have to be a libero in college, so I don't want to be an outside anymore." And I always found that so fascinating. An outside hitter is a libero. That position is so similar. A libero transitioning to be an outside would be far more difficult. But an outside trying to become a libero, you're serve receiving 6 rotations if you're a 6 rotation player. You're playing defense, you're serving, you're doing all the other elements. You don't know this, Chris, but I've actually told that story to some of my girls. I said, "Hey, I know a guy who's 6'4", 6'5", who had to play libero in the national championship game after being an outside his whole career." They always look at me like, "You're full of shit." And right now on the women's national team, Megan Courtney was an All-American outside hitter her whole career and fantastic player. And now she's growing it up for the U.S. team. So it's so much more common now, I think. But Chris, while we have you on, I want to talk about stats a little bit. You and I have been statting one specific stat this whole NBA season so far. I want to talk to the world about it because it's definitely a good argumentative piece, and it's also one of those ones that you and I have observed.
You're talking Bix from the back row.
Yeah. So
from an out-of-system pass. Sorry.
Yeah.
It started because we were at a gold medal squared coaches clinic at the AC Invitational. They had mentioned that it's statistically the worst option as an out-of-system play.
They were adamant about that.
Run the pipe out of system?
Any back row.
Okay.
No. It was pipe specifically.
Oh, it was just pipe?
Don't run the pipe out of system. D-balls are fine, but not pipe. The whole next day, anytime it came up where we ran a pipe out of system, Justin and I, and we weren't successful, Justin and I looked at each other and we were like, "There it is again." They told us.
When the setter digs the first ball and the libero is setting the second ball, every time they set the pipe, I would find myself at juniors tournaments and NBA events yelling, "That's not going to work." Right now for Team Freedom Volleyball Club at tournaments, it's probably less than 10% of the time out of system running the big works. I actually said to our libero, John Cunningham, I said, "Hey, out of system, you got to go outside or right side." So we started chucking balls across the court ahead on the right side, balls that should not be chucked 40 feet away, and we're chucking right side balls. And I'm thinking in my head, I think a pipe might have been a better option. Right? But before we do this game, Ryan has a 2008 trivia question. Let's go with it and see if Chris knows.
A little bit of indoor knowledge. In 2008, United States men, they won a gold medal in Beijing.
Yeah. Can
you name 5 players on that roster?
Maybe. Lloyd Ball, David Lee.
Correct.
Clay Stanley. That other middle, I think his name was Smith. David Smith.
David Smith was not yet on the team.
Okay. But do mess ups count against me, or am I
No.
good?
You can go forever.
All right.
D, give him an X. He said Dave Smith, D.
Read Pretty, obviously.
Reed Pretty, that's number 4. Good.
I don't know who was living at the time.
Oh, come on. He's a coach on the AVP now.
I can picture him.
Hints.
I know who the other middle is because he plays in the NBA, and I know him. What the heck?
Garrett's got it. I think Garrett's got it.
Chris, do you want a lifeline? Or do you get one?
Oh man, this is killing me. Give me like
You got 4.
You
You're
could
doing good.
phone a friend. Tell him you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Name like a fish that most people order when they order at restaurants.
Riley Salmon. All right.
Riley Salmon, that's correct.
Yay!
Brian Millar was a middle. I think you're thinking of he's in the NBA right now, is what you said?
Yeah.
Russell Holmes.
Russell Holmes. Yeah.
He was not on the team at the time.
Are you sure? about
Nope, he was.
No?
That was Brian Millar, David Lee, Tom Hoff. Remember Tom Hoff?
Tom Hoff. Correct.
Oh, yeah.
All
I
right.
have the game. It's called Name the Opposite, and you have to try to name the opposite of everything I say as quick as you can.
Okay. Love this.
I'm going to try to enunciate as good as I can,
As well as you can.
as well as I can. Why-
Figure it out.
Salt,
Salt. Pepper.
red,
Blue.
Yes.
tall,
Short.
big,
Small.
cat,
Dog.
alligator,
Pigeon.
libero,
Middle.
Saturday,
Monday.
pasta,
Steak.
water,
Alcohol.
hip hop,
Jazz.
silver,
Dirt.
Dr. Doolittle,
Shel Silverstein. Yeah, it's like the same thing.
hard,
Soft.
stop,
Go.
high,
Low.
jump,
Sit.
fast,
Slow.
curve,
Straight.
coffee,
Can't say water again. Coffee. I don't know, man. Alcohol?
Alcohol
Terrible.
again.
and
I
then
can't do alcohol again. Oh, sorry.
sleep.
Energy.
Good answer.
Good answer.
Good
Good
answer.
answer.
I mean, awake would be obviously be the opposite. Energy came from my.
I don't know. Like Justin said to me earlier, he said hi, and I think my answer was bye.
I said,
I mean, it makes sense.
bye. I was like, all right. Before we let you go, Chris, I want you to just talk a little bit about the NBA, just kind of your expectations for the season, and once it gets going, if and when it gets going, just talk a little bit about the NBA and your role as one of the marquee players for Team Freedom.
Right. So let's pretend coronavirus isn't a thing. I am very excited to be balling with like some of the top players in the country. It's just not something that I've always had a chance to do, and any opportunity I can find, I'd go and do it. At this point, volleyball is not about the money for me. Although, we're going to be paid a little bit. We're going to make some money. Going out and playing against the best players I can and the highest level of volleyball possible is what I'm really looking forward to.
Because we are pressed for time and because we're in this extenuating circumstance, what do you think about the NBA running sort of just 2 weekends, all 8 teams play in mini tournament style, and then have a championship to follow those 2 weekends? Like what format would you pick to make up for this lost time? What would be your opinion?
I think there's 2 ways you can do this. I think you can do it that way. Or you can do a quick seeding tournament somehow and just have a single limb bracket from then on out. Cutting teams out of playoffs might be unfortunate for teams because they won't have a lot of time to show what they have. So I don't know if I really want to cut anybody out of the chance of playoffs. I think everybody makes playoffs would be pretty cool.
And we're gonna get a chance to hear from Garrett, the owner and manager of Northeast Volleyball Club, which is interesting because we're gonna have a bunch of NVA level players on here. We're gonna talk a lot about professional volleyball in the United States, and I'm really happy that Kat's on because one of the things that we're going to try to do, at least by next year, is to add women to the NBA. This country is starving for that opportunity, and Garrett and I have talked about that for a long time. When you decided to go to Stevens, I don't think you could have imagined a professional league being in the U.S. And that was, 4 years ago. That was, not that long ago. And now we're talking about having a really cool opportunity. So from a team freedom standpoint, we love having you, and it's been a pleasure. And we loved having you on the show today. Hopefully we can get you back on.
Yeah, man, we can talk more beach stuff or snow stuff whenever you want.
Yeah, man, definitely come back on. We're going to talk more AVP. We're going to talk more outdoor stuff. So please, if you'll come back on, we'd love to have you.
I think you're doing some good stuff here. I can listen to Justin talk all day long.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chris. Take care, man.
Thanks,
Take it easy, brother.
Hey, dude. Kat and Garrett, welcome. How are you?
Hi.
Hey, guys.
What's up?
Hey, how's it
Married
going?
people are here. Show the
Kat
rings.
and Garrett are former and current players, I hope, right?
Oh.
Kat? Right. They're club directors at Northeast Volleyball Club. We want to talk to them a little bit today about running a club, what it's like to have your own club, and especially in the current situation, how your operations have been hit by this and what you decided to do as a business and what you're doing in the interim. So introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about your club, and we'll go from there.
I'm Garrett, and thanks for having us on the show. This is cool. We started Northeast Volleyball Club 2 years ago. It was kind of a dream of ours to do that for a long time. We were both coaching together at a different club in Connecticut. This was like 2015. We decided that we need a little change of pace in our lives. So we went overseas for a couple of years. I'll let Kat talk about that experience more. While we were still there, we decided like, hey, this is, we're going to go home and start this volleyball club because we saw the opportunity was right and knew it was something we wanted to do for the rest of our lives. So we went to Connecticut, of all places, again, which is known for its volleyball. It's not really known for its volleyball for anyone listening, but we decided to start a club in a place that needed help with volleyball and needed to continue to develop. And we saw a great opportunity back where we used to coach with a lot of contacts that we still had. Some really dedicated families and groups of people in youth sports. And the area that we started our club in has been notorious for being extremely competitive nationwide in sports like ice hockey and lacrosse and baseball, like Little League World Series championships team out of Fairfield County and some of the best, like I said, ice hockey teams in the country. So it's just a matter of bringing this sport to them that they had no idea how to do and trying to build a culture that was similar to the other sports around this one. So anyway, that's my spiel on Northeast Volleyball Club, and I'll let Kat talk a little bit more about our experience overseas and how that kind of shaped what we're doing.
Good start.
Yeah, please.
Very good.
In-depth
Take
start.
that, Kat.
She's better, so.
Hey guys, I'm Kat. I'll talk a little bit more just about kind of my personal experience with volleyball leading up to this starting club, because I played for Laguna Beach Volleyball Club growing up in Southern California, which at the time was like one of the best clubs in the country at the time when California was the best place to play volleyball, probably there in Chicago, even before really we used to go to Texas to qualify, which is crazy now. I think that Texas is the best. You don't go to Texas to try to qualify for JOs anymore. Having that experience and getting to play at that really defined my whole high school experience. I loved being at my club. I made some amazing friends, had this like community vibe in this space that I spent I was there 6 days a week. And then when we got to Connecticut, we were like, where are all the warehouses full of volleyball courts? And there was just no option, no place for people to play like what you guys have out in Jersey too, like just a home base. And we really saw that was missing. So I think like that was the kind of the first spark. And then when we went overseas, that really opened my eyes up to like the international kind of style of play and training, the idea of like really training a 6 rotation player, and which is something I think I had in my juniors career, but isn't something that's really common in club volleyball. You got like the 5-1 DS and the 6-4 middle, and like that's what a lot of colleges are looking for. And then there's like these diamond in a rough, like 6 rotation players that can do every skill. And like overseas, that's everyone. The middles can all set and serve and play defense because they have to. The opposites all play all the way around, and obviously the outsides and setters as well. So that was something that was really eye-opening in terms of the training, where we watched in Italy, U14 volleyball, and everyone's jump serving and everyone can pass, everyone can dig, everyone can hit. I think those two things combined were really what like kind of solidified our training philosophy and what we really wanted to bring to our kids.
Okay, so as a new club, right? You have to deal with all the challenges that go hand in hand with starting a new club, right? Attracting people that want to come, convincing parents and players of your philosophy, trying to build from the ground up. But now we have this stupid virus thing happening. So how did you guys respond to that? And what are you doing to kind of potentially bounce back when this goes away?
We shut our doors pretty quickly when USA Volleyball recommended it, before it was like mandated even, because it felt like it was the right thing to do based on everything that we're reading. And we actually have friends in Northern Italy and like the epicenter of this that were like, you guys need to take this seriously because you're behind where we are. And so we felt like we had to do our part there. So we basically shut down any in-person training practices over a week ago. But we connected with all of our coaches or teams in terms of like, hey, we're going to stay in touch. We don't know where this is going to go, but we got really active on social media, started some challenges, made a video, which was really fun.
Yeah, that was great. I saw that. Really cool.
Play at home. Yeah, that was fun to make. And some little challenges that people can do on Instagram. We're still working on some more stuff there. We're hoping at the end of this week going to roll out like a virtual kind of classroom session that this guy will lead to get,
That's awesome.
Get players to do some exercises at home, do some mental training, volleyball IQ training, like the stuff that basically everything that we can do besides train as a team. And then we're lucky enough to have the gym that we work with already has a live stream platform, like a virtual training platform. So all of our kids are already doing team lifts. We're still trying to think of more. But the biggest thing was just communicating with them and then trying to hopefully salvage a season. We're committed to that, even if it's just practice. I've been telling all the girls that, like, even if we can't go to any tournaments, if we can get you guys in the gym to train 3 days a week in May and June, or June and early July, to get some film to send to college coaches, to scrimmage, to keep up the training. Because that was the devastating part for us as coaches, is like the teams were just hitting their strides and kids are starting to get noticed, and you have kids going on D1 official visits and all, and it just like cut the,
Yeah.
So, Kat, I want to jump in here. Garrett and Kat are very similar to me, for those of you that are watching, in the sense that they have a juniors club, they run an NBA team, they have influence on the region. One of the things that has been a huge topic of conversation for me is, what are we going to do with the parents that say, I want my money back? The season has ended. I want my money back.
So we haven't had anyone ask for refunds, and we've also been very transparent that we will definitely give some money back, because there are certain things that we don't have to pay for anymore. Coaches' hotel,
like tournament
fees, and that we have that like separate. So
sure.
Some of that will come back. It's not going to be a huge amount, but that we've said. And then we've basically said, hey, at the end of the season, we're going to evaluate what you missed and then what we could do. We're still paying our coaches. We're still paying our rent. We still have, our huddle subscriptions and everything. So there's a lot of costs that we've already incurred, and so far that hasn't been an issue. We are also going to just look at it at the end and see what we can do, and try to make up the training hours as much as possible. I think that's the biggest thing, is if we can, even if it goes into the summer, we can do some, credits for future programs or clinics, open gyms, and things that are just ways to make up the missed practice time. And then hopefully we won't have to take too much of a financial hit, because our parents know that this is our full-time job for both of us.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because at Side Out we have 5 full-time staff members. We're intending on paying them throughout this, and it's difficult because the funding for those salaries comes from the majority of club. We do private lessons and clinics and summer camps, and that stuff is all great, but that goes towards other fees. So I think a lot of clubs out there, especially what we would just describe as mom and pop clubs, not huge clubs like and we're going to talk to Carly in a couple minutes, like Montiana or Sports Performance, 949, Balboa Bay. These clubs are huge, and they're not gonna have as much of an issue as us, who have like between 10 and 20 teams, where it becomes a lot more difficult for us to pay our employees, especially our part-time coaches. So I think us tagging the volleyball coaches and trainers in this video will really shed some light on what the motivation is going forward. I haven't had any parents ask for a refund yet either, but I do know that the reality hasn't kicked in yet. You know, the reality that the season is actually done and the girls are not going to any more tournaments. I'm still optimistic about it, but the reality is if that doesn't happen, some parents are going to be upset, justifiably. I don't agree with it. Obviously, it's a super extenuating circumstance that the whole world is dealing with. But I also understand that they paid, $4,000 for their daughters to get good training, and that didn't happen. It's a slippery slope, and I appreciate you guys giving your input. I'm on the same page as you, just so you know. We will run practices all the way till August. We'll make tournaments between the Iriva and Jiva, Nerva regions. We could probably get enough teams to host tournaments. So we'll make it happen. And I want other club directors and owners to understand that we will make this thing work. We just have to be patient right now, and we have to keep kids out of the gym so that we can do this the right way. The follow-up to this conversation is the NBA question of what is your utopian model for this NBA season? Do we just ixnay it and call it a year, or do we try to run this into the summer and conflict with outdoor volleyball? We just had Chris Vaughan on, who is very close to being an automatic qualifier in the AVP, and he's adamant about saying, like, guys, if there's an NBA event, I'm going to go. But if it's on the same weekend as an AVP, I kind of have to go there because I'm going to make a lot more money doing that. So what do you guys feel about that?
My opinion on like the indoor versus outdoor thing has always been, if you're really serious about one, you got to go do that. I think with what the NBA is trying to do in building like a professional, like a truly like a professional volleyball league in the US, not like, hey, here's some guys who kind of like, they like to play both. I think that if you run that over the summer, because that's what the circumstance is this season, and there are guys who go, yeah, hey, well, it's outdoor season, and I like to play grass volleyball tournaments instead. And it's like, you're not the right guy for the league this year. We can get someone who's an indoor volleyball player, and that's how they view themselves or whatever. It's just a choice, right? Like you're just deciding if you are playing indoor or outdoor under like these crazy circumstances, especially. It wouldn't be fair for some guys to come back and look at the league and be like, oh, that can't be the solution because I don't want it to be that. And I'd rather go play, at Point Pleasant Beach every weekend. And it's like, well, this is a pro league. Like if LeBron wants to go play at Rucker Park over the summer, and so he can't make the Lakers game, like that's not going to fly, And
I feel like that would actually fly because it's
might.
I just feel like he might be like,
with it. It's him. You're right.
And Chris Vaughan actually said something interesting to touch on your point. I'm not in this for the money. A lot of the guys aren't, but they're in it for the passion. So I agree with you. I think if you're going to be all in, and in this extenuating time, you got to make some sacrifices. If that means missing 2 beach tournaments and making up for those at the end of the beach season, just do that. And it's interesting because we have Carly Skjodt on here, who is an All-American indoor player and now plays beach. I can't wait to hear what she has to say about, the indoor-outdoor kind of thing. Kat, I do have another question for you. The NBA is we have meetings every week. I've brought it up about 3 or 4 times at this point. We want to have a women's volleyball league to run hand in hand with the men's league, on the same weekends in the same locations. One of the largest conflicts is court availability and media coverage for both. Garrett and I have been talking at least for 3 or 4 years about this, that women's volleyball should be a professional sport in this league before men's.
100%.
But men's volleyball, for whatever reason, is just catching the right rhythm, and it has the backing of the NBA. So what is your opinion on the NBA women's side, and what would your recommendation be for like how many teams and like where they would come from? Should they latch on to the current NBA men's teams?
I have a couple thoughts on that. I think I agree with you in the sense that in the U.S., like women's volleyball is more popular than men's. There's just no
doubt
arguing, right?
Yeah.
You look at Nebraska, pulling in like 17,000 people for the Final Four, and like the success of NCAA college volleyball and the women's national team. But then when you look overseas, men's volleyball players are like, that's still more popular and they're making more money, and that makes sense in other countries. But here I do agree with you that with the fan base that we have on the junior side, like it could be huge. I think that the biggest challenge with women's volleyball in the US is that the women in general are less dedicated to organizing and playing after college and after their professional career. It's a lot of factors. Karch talks about it when he talks about growing the juniors game, about how women's volleyball players tend to play like 90% of the volleyball that they play in their career is organized. You show up at this time, here's your coach, your practice is run for you, so that when college is over, and if they're not going to play professionally or going to play on the national team, like it's done. And maybe a few people decide to play beach or grass, but in general, there's a lot of like fantastic women's volleyball players that never play after their last match in college. But that's why, because it's like been organized by the parents and club directors. Whereas on the men's side, you know, maybe a little bit more of like pickup game where people pick it up in college, like, because it's not as established yet as a sport here. So that you have to be more creative about finding ways to play. I think that that is the biggest kind of obstacle to it. So it's not like there's no shortage of players who are like fit, ready to go, right out, coming off of their seasons that aren't going to play overseas. Can we get them committed to playing on a team? And like, I'm guilty of it too. Like I don't play as much as he does.
You also didn't play after college for a long time.
I didn't. Yeah, I stopped playing for a long time and then went back. You know, it's kind of like, hey, I got to go do other things with my life, and didn't really touch a volleyball for like 18 months. A little bit burnt out, probably. That's the biggest thing going against it. In my opinion, I think that there's some like hotbeds of volleyball more so in the Midwest, where you see like Madison, Wisconsin, you know, Omaha, Nebraska, where there are 10,000, you know, people showing up for volleyball games regularly.
Probably knows all about that.
Yeah, and that's where I think that this should maybe start versus like Northeast. Maybe we could have a team from here that's traveling to the Midwest to play.
Sure.
And even in California, I mean, you definitely get a fair amount of fans at USC, UCLA, Long Beach State, but nothing compared to what they have in, you know, BYU, at Texas, at Wisconsin, Nebraska, Purdue, places like that. So I feel like it kind of has to start maybe in that Big Ten area where there already is a fan base and there's a really strong knowledge of volleyball, and then maybe it can spread to some of these other places or teams can fly in.
Just to touch on your point, Haley Eckerman put a team together for nationals 3 years ago, just a bunch of her friends from Texas, and they came and beat up everybody. Chloe Collins was setting, and she is 5'7" on a good day, you know, and they crapped on everybody in Women's Open. I feel like Carly could probably put together a team of Muncie girls that she played with, and they could win Women's Open easily.
For sure.
That's a really good point, and that's something that Garrett and I are going to bring up in those meetings, because I think what will make the NBA better is men's and women's volleyball. Mark Rosen is the president of the AVCA. I work his camps. He's a mentor of mine, and we have talked to him about having an NBA women's and men's event at the AVCA next year, and I think that would be a cool get together for former All-Americans to just come and play and kind of do like a scramble thing.
Yeah.
Before we let you guys go, Ryan has a trivia game for you guys. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. We're going to try to do this once or twice a week for the remainder of this Corona quarantine, because I think it'll help people just kind of socialize without being allowed to. And the goal of this is just to get out into the volleyball community without actually physically doing that. Tonight was a little bit more serious. In the future, it'll probably be a little bit more fun. But we just wanted to get acclimated with all the people that are coming on. So I appreciate you guys coming. And where's Frog, by the way?
She's upstairs.
So
Frog!
All I want to say is to Garrett and Kat, for you guys to go to Connecticut, because Connecticut's not really known for volleyball. It does take certain type of individuals to go in there with the focus of changing everything there, because I think it's easy to go somewhere where you're like, oh, volleyball's great here. You guys are there kind of like pioneers, and I just want to commend you for that. That's
Thank you.
Awesome that you guys took that challenge on.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
We refer to it as the final frontier of volleyball. We're in the wild west right now. So it's definitely more about like growing culture around the game than it even is around, you know, trying to just be like the best club. There's not a whole ton of competition. There's some, but it's more about like, hey, can we get people to really love volleyball? That would be awesome. So we're
know the rules.
We're starting with like first, second, third graders, and we go to elementary schools and we go to middle schools and we run free clinics. This is like the only way. You have to bring it to them. It's your only shot. So
was that kind of your biggest challenge going into Connecticut, like trying to make juniors serious? Like, I know a lot of times in Jiva we run into people who like volleyball, but they're like, I'm not trying to travel to Texas. I'm not trying to travel. You know, so is that something kind of similar where in Connecticut they're like, hey, listen, my daughter loves volleyball, but I'm not paying thousands of dollars for her to go there.
We're in a very affluent area, so people have no issues with the amounts, the dollar amounts. And when, like I was mentioning before, you look at other youth sports in the area, and like people tell us all the time, like, man, you guys are like kind of cheap in comparison to the hockey teams and like lacrosse teams and stuff like that. And we're, admittedly, we're the most expensive volleyball club in our state. And
Really?
yeah, we charge more than everyone else, and we're very like frank about it.
Still cheaper than like other sports that are happening.
Still cheaper than other sports that are going on. Yeah.
Hockey's interesting because I actually talked to a guy who runs an ice rink by me. He goes, people pay $400 for a private lesson for an hour.
Yeah. No,
I said, I can't imagine telling a volleyball athlete to pay $400 for a private lesson. That's insane. So yeah, you're definitely right. Hockey is an affluent sport for sure.
You find certain areas that are, they play a lot of those types of sports, and like squash. Squash is huge in Connecticut. And like,
really?
It's squash. Oh my God, dude. It's like national championship players everywhere. And
no kidding.
In Hartford Trinity, they're like a national champion squash.
Wow.
Anyway, like that's another sport, just niche and expensive, and people are kind of used to it. And we don't really view volleyball as a niche necessarily, but they do. And we're kind of like, all right, like if that's what they're like, this might be our best chance at, college or something, because it's so niche. And it's like, it's actually like more girls volleyball players in the country than any other team sport. But in our area, it happens to be very new.
Guys, please come on another time. Kat, I want to talk more about your experience as a pro player in Italy.
Yeah.
And Garrett, you and I shared an experience as grad students in England.
Yeah.
And I think that we can talk a little bit about the potential for players to go get a grad degree abroad and what that was like. So definitely join us another time for those discussions. In the meantime, I have a question for you. Seeing as you were so confident in the last one, I'm sure you'll get it.
Oh, no. Good luck.
In 2014, the USA World Championships were held in Italy. Team USA won the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for 5 roster players for Team USA gold medalist team for the World Championship tournament in 2014.
Is this men or women?
This is women's.
You want to start or should I start?
I could just like alternate.
All right, Jordan Larson.
You have to go back and forth.
Yeah. Jordan Larson, correct.
Faluke is on the team.
Faluke Akinradova, correct.
Krista Harmato.
I've got the roster in front of me. I'm not seeing Krista Harmato.
You have a different last name then?
Dietzen.
Krista Dietzen? Are we saying yes?
No, let's not go with it then. Okay. May have retired like 1 year before that.
If you guys want to phone a friend, Carly's chilling right there.
Okay. Well, Carly, hang tight, okay?
We got this.
Got 2 so far. Who was setting?
Not her. No, the Libera.
Caleb Banworth. Banworth,
correct.
In 2014.
Natalie Haglund was in.
She wasn't on the team.
No. She was on the roster.
Give me some setters and some libs.
Carly Lloyd.
That's incorrect.
Oh, no. Alicia Glass was on the team.
Alicia Glass, correct. One more. Give me one more.
Who's another outside? We have one outside.
I don't think Kelsey Robinson was on the team yet.
I'm looking for like Hughes and Ryan's eyes for a certain name. It wasn't Kelsey Robinson, was it? It was Kelsey Robinson.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Kelsey Robinson, that is correct.
Hey, good answer.
Good answer. The second and last question. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, we've had a lot of discussion.
This is the first icebreaker of all volleyball seasons.
We've heard all the arguments.
Yes.
Yes, but then also a burrito and a wrap and all of these things are all sandwiches then.
I have a follow-up question. When you think of the movie Space Jam, what song immediately comes to your brain?
I think if you tell them to think about it, it's not that snap answer that we're looking for.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Fly Like an Eagle.
Oh,
That is correct.
Finally!
That Jock Jam song also came to mind, but
not as much.
Not quite. No, it wasn't first. It was second.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for
thanks for having us.
Telling us what you think about everything and giving us your.
Yeah, you guys have to come back on because we have a lot of stuff we need to talk about, and we're only doing like 15, 20 minutes per person.
We're busy the next couple weeks, but just let us know.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right.
Take it easy.
See you guys.
Carly!
We're moving to Carly Skjodt.
Yay!
Round of applause. Round of applause. Hi, Kitty.
Carly Scott was University of Michigan All-American. She's in Pepperdine now. What are you doing in Pepperdine?
I'm not there anymore.
Oh, what happened?
I'm home now.
Where?
Season
Where's home?
canceled. Indiana. Duh.
Indiana, California.
Tell us about your experience in Michigan. Tell us what you're doing at Pepperdine, and now you're in Indiana. So walk us through what's going on.
From Indiana, played indoor at Munciana. You guys hit on that briefly. Played at Michigan for 4 years indoor, and then kind of postponing the whole getting a job thing. So decided to go play beach as my 5th year and go to grad school at Pepperdine. But now the season's canceled. Didn't get to really live that one out as planned, and now I'm back home.
Wait, are you gonna get that back though? Would you take it if you do get it back?
Technically, I'm not a senior. I mean, I kind of am, but I'm also
Are you a
like
super senior?
yeah. So it kind of
Call her
depends. Like,
supersized?
yeah, did you, Ryan?
Ryan, what the hell is that all about?
What?
You just call her supersized?
No. Super senior. Like
Sorry,
5
Carly, go
years
ahead.
plus? Oh, God.
I mean, you guys have seen the posts. They say, they're going to let seniors have a 5th year or take that extra year, but it kind of just depends like what their rules are, roster size, school. I'm supposed to finish abroad in the fall, and then I'm supposed to be done with my grad program.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Copenhagen if that happens.
When is that supposed to happen?
Well, it's supposed to go in August.
Denmark's in lockdown right now. Nothing's moving there, so I doubt that's going to happen now.
Oh, Carly, that's Phil.
Yeah, hi,
Hey.
Phil.
Hi, Phil.
I live just across the border from Denmark.
Phil can't
Oh,
keep
really?
his trap shut until we introduce him.
God.
I mean, that's supposed to be like late August, so it kind of just depends what happens with the virus. And then in terms of NCAA, depending on what rules they set for people to come back. I mean, I obviously would love to get to actually play a full season, but it just depends. I mean, if that's going to take me like getting another degree, that's a lot.
So
Well,
what
what
would
do you
that
think
mean for the NCAA? Would they make these players or students actually register for another year of classes? Would they have to pay for another year? I mean, I would argue you guys are owed your eligibility, but does that come another year of school, another year of payments?
Yeah, they haven't said anything.
And so what do you think they should do?
It's kind of hard. It kind of goes back to the whole paying athletes thing. Like, you have to be amateurs, and to be an NCAA athlete, you have to be in school, right? So it kind of depends how willing they are to sway the rules for this like absurd circumstance, really. The fact that they even have spoken out that they would give seniors eligibility back is big, and it's important that they do that. But I think that they're going to have to set some sort of rules because, I mean, you can't just let a bunch of kids not take school for a year and just be playing sports, because that makes them, so much more time towards sports they can give and all that. So
Can someone fill me in? Has the NCAA made a statement about this?
Nothing official. I don't believe anything official has been said yet. Carly, by the way, I'm Carlo. I don't think we've
Hi,
ever
Carlo.
met before.
Carly and Carlo. Holy
Yeah.
Carlo is
Right, so-
he's the coach of men's NJCU men's volleyball in New Jersey.
Yeah, I don't think anything official has been said yet, but it is trending towards giving seniors an extra season of play. But the issue is you do have to be in the super senior category to take advantage of that, because I personally have a senior that is not going to spend an extra year of school just to play that season because he is graduating. It's going to be tough how they're going to, I guess, specify if you're going to be eligible to use that, or there's a lot of fine tuning that this is going to need. I don't know. It's just so up in the air, but it is trending to the fact that they may give that extra year of eligibility towards the seniors whose season got cut short.
What makes someone like Carly, for instance, go back to school for a 6th year? And then what classes do you take? What do you actually have invested academically into the situation? And then how do they spend a scholarship on you when they should be getting a scholarship athlete to come in as a freshman for the future? I'm really curious to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Carly, I think you should get your life started. I think you've played a good amount of volleyball at this point, and I think you're gonna coach and do a lot of things involved with.
No, boo, boo. Play
I think-
forever.
Justin, are you telling me to quit volleyball?
And I would tell Mark Rosen that I said it too. No, I'm not telling you to quit volleyball. I'm telling you to quit college, because there's a sacrifice that has to be made for a lot of players to do another year of school to play. I'm not even talking about this scenario. How about a kid that tears their ACL as a sophomore and then comes back and stays for a 5th year, and then this happened? How many girls are in that, or girls or guys are in that situation where this was already their 5th year for whatever reason, and now this is happening? Now you're telling them to stay for a 6th year and take more student loans. It's selfish, and I would never ask an athlete to do that. Life is much more than volleyball. That's the truth. If you're getting a full ride and you don't have to pay anything for it, do it. That means that now an 18-year-old girl who has a dream to go to Pepperdine and play beach volleyball can't get a scholarship. That sucks. I love hearing from you, Carly, because I think a lot of the club girls who are going to watch this podcast, because they are super stalkers, they're going to want to hear these things from you. I want to know more about your Munciana experience and your club volleyball experience.
Well, first you have to pronounce Munciana correctly.
No, it's Munciana.
Munciana.
Wait,
Muncie. Just say Muncie.
I played at Team Indiana for 1 year, my freshman year. Before that, I was at like a little bit of a smaller club, IVA. Decided to go to Muncie for my sophomore year, which is like an hour drive for me every day after school. It was an awesome experience, like overall. So I was on Samurai sophomore, junior, and senior year. I had a couple girls on the team with me my sophomore year. Tiana Williams, she was also a sophomore with me. So we got to play all 3 years together, but
Nice.
it was a great experience.
Dante, who's the black guy, you see him? He's the inspiration behind our show called Always More Line. And since you're a spiker and you're an outside hitter, what do you think about the statement, there's always more line?
I definitely agree with that.
Yes, Dante, talk to me about it.
My girl. So the saying came from a friend of mine who is probably my longest volleyball friend besides another freedom guy, Jordan Robinson. We had him play in a tournament that was a pretty high level men's tournament. We got into the finals, and the dudes that we were playing with everyone's blocking at 11 and a half feet. And he's 5'8", 5'9" on a good day. He kept using the one outside, like just high wrist away, high wrist away, high wrist away. And then after the game, someone came up to him. I think it was either Justin or another one of the guys on the team, and said, like, you had the highest hitting percentage and the smallest dude on the team. And he was like, well, the problem is that you guys are swinging for the court. If you swing for the 18th row through someone's hands, you'll literally always get a kill. I think I was like maybe 20 at this point. And ever since that, I was just like, whenever I get trapped or I'm blind or I can't see
your
anything, high line wrist away. Literally at this point, it's become a way of life. And we talked about it last night, and it kind of got spoken into existence at this point after all these years. So
luckily Mark Rosen loved that shot so much. So I literally hit it very far out. It might have hit people in the stands, but I looked over at Mark and he was Mark super excited.
Mark,
he loved it.
Coach of Michigan, he was telling you to swing high.
Yeah, he just didn't mind that I missed it. This is when we had review and all that stuff too. So I could get the fingers and then we could review it. But yeah, he still liked it. It was a good miss. But yeah, I love that high line outside hand shot, considering I'm a smaller outside hitter in the big, or I was at least.
So what is your beach volleyball going to be further than this? Just for fun?
I'm having a little bit of a life crisis because these next couple months were really going to determine what I wanted to do moving forward, kind of depended how I performed on the beach and all of that. I think I want to play in some capacity after this. So it's kind of just figuring that out for myself now, not really getting the time that I wanted.
You considered maybe trying for an AVP qualifier or going on to the tour?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely try and play in tournaments. Like I said, it just depends how I'm able to do. I never really played at that level. And then I got a bunch of awesome training at Pepperdine. So it kind of just depends, how that would work out.
You transitioned from indoor to outdoor to the sand. Do you still play indoor? And do you have any interest of playing indoor in the future?
Yeah, I haven't played for a while, but I would definitely be interested in playing. I think that's kind of my next decision that I have to make, is just whether I want to, commit to beach or indoor or either.
We've talked with some previous guests about the NVA, the VLA, like trying to start a pro league in the United States. Hypothetically, if we could get a women's pro league to get started, what would it take for you to be interested in joining a pro league, quote unquote, in the United States? Do you think it's something that could work? And would you latch onto that?
Yeah, I think for me that would be, awesome. All those players overseas, they play volleyball and they can have another job. Whereas if we go overseas, it's kind of like your only job is to play. So having a league in the US would obviously be incredible, like especially for someone like me who wants to give it a shot, but like technically going overseas would be a way bigger commitment. Logistically, I don't know if it would work. I don't know how many people would be interested, but I think it's big enough now that, it could be a good thing for women's volleyball in general. The US volleyball team, like as a whole as well, would benefit greatly from that.
I'm sure you know a lot of players that have come out of college and just sort of stopped playing, or at least stopped playing at a high level, right? Do you think that players like this would want to jump into a league like that? It's very discouraging to see really talented players come out of the college world and then kind of fizzle out, right? Like some of them go abroad and some of them go into coaching, but domestically there's not really an opportunity to keep that level. I'm asking from a place of optimism. If there was such a league, what do you think like the general university player attitude would be? Would you think that they would like to go into a league like that?
Like I said, the whole commitment thing, not a lot of people want to make a huge commitment, but I think a lot of people would at least cling to a season and then see how it went, I think I know a lot of people who didn't want to go abroad that would strongly consider staying in the US and playing.
Volleyball is it might not be the biggest sport in this country, but we for damn sure have some talent. And it's kind of a shame to see that potentially not go anywhere. And of course we have Justin and Carlo here, like directors of NVA teams. It would be really great if we could get some sort of league off the ground so that when players leave, like for example a Big Ten school, they have somewhere to go, or maybe they have some choices to make.
Carly, I want to play the opposite game with you. I'm going to say something, and you have to tell me the opposite of it.
Okay.
You got to answer fast.
Okay, sure.
Don't hesitate. It's okay if you say something ridiculous. We've heard some answers tonight. You ready?
Yeah.
Salt.
Pepper.
Red.
Blue.
Tall.
Short.
Big.
Small.
Cat.
Dog.
Alligator.
Sorry, I missed that one.
Stumped her.
I couldn't think of anything.
Next.
Libero.
Setter.
Saturday.
Sunday.
Pasta.
Vegetables.
Water.
Soda.
Hip hop.
Pop.
Silver.
Gold.
Dr. Doolittle.
Mouse.
Hard.
Oh.
Soft.
Stop.
Go.
High.
Low.
Jump.
Sit.
Fast.
Slow.
Curve.
Straight.
Coffee.
Tea.
Sleep.
Awakey.
Awakey. Yes, that's the answer.
We're going to throw it to Kat in a minute. Kat Jensen's just joined us. Carly, thank you so much for joining us. Please come on again.
Carly,
but
when you think of Space Jam, what song do you think of?
I've actually never seen that, unfortunately.
Oh.
I might have, but I don't remember. And I haven't seen all the movies.
Danny, DJ Dollar Dan has something for you.
Okay.
Carly, before you go, one more trivia question. We have someone in this chat who lives in a country called the Faroe Islands. Can you tell us where that is?
Is it okay? I choose a country.
No, someone. His name's Phil. He's waving his hands.
Hi, I'm the guy from Faroe Islands.
Do you know where that is?
I do actually. It borders. It borders Denmark.
It borders Denmark.
It borders Denmark.
Phil, how do you feel about that?
No.
In her defense, Phil, you said that.
Phil,
You literally said that.
I know.
Phil, those words came out of your mouth.
Bordering country, but I still think it's wrong.
It is.
You said it.
It is geographically wrong. The Faroe Islands is a territory of Denmark, but it doesn't border anything.
Is it in the Scandinavian area? I'm just confused because he told me that it bordered Denmark, and
Phil,
now he's saying
that. Phil, you said that, Phil.
Hey, can we just get this out there that the country has the word islands in it, but we're talking about what it borders?
It borders water. That's what she said. I heard Carly say that.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna give it to her.
Close. All right,
Wait,
that's fair.
Carly, you've been quarantined for how many days?
How many days have I been?
Yeah, in Indiana. AKA, you can only get milk if you drive 38 minutes.
So annoying. I've been quarantined since last Monday.
What's the last 3 movies you've watched?
I actually haven't watched any movies.
Shows.
I've been watching All American on Netflix. I watched This Is Us. I watch A Million Little Things, and I watch Grays.
All right, Carly, stay on and hang out with us or leave. We love you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for joining, Carly. We love you.
Yeah, Carly.
All right, we're gonna move over to Kat Janssen. Hi, Kat. Wave for us.
Oh God.
Hi,
Hey.
Oh God. Hello.
What time is it where you are? And tell us where you are.
Well, I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and it's nearly 1 p.m.
We had the pleasure of having Kat join us for USA Nationals last year. She was part of a Team Freedom team. Thank you so much for making that trip. You were
great.
playing in Sweden, is that correct? So
Indeed
tell us
it
about
was.
your experience playing this year, and I mean just experience in being a different country than you're used to, and also how was it affected by the virus this year?
Well, I'm used to playing in a different country than my home country. I was in the States for 4.5 years for volleyball there, so it's not really that out of the ordinary for me. Early on in the season, I came down with a pretty major injury in my ankle, so I've kind of been hindered throughout the season because of that, which sucked.
Well, I heard a rumor you got to play libero.
Yes, I did.
Oh God.
Really? Tell us
now
about that.
officially played every position in volleyball now.
Kat, what did the Swedish league do in response to the virus?
It had quite a delayed response initially. We found out that Denmark, all their league was cancelled. We found out the Norway league was cancelled, and then all the European leagues started to become cancelled. And then still we were playing. It was the day before our first preliminary final. So it was, I think, 11:30 at night when the message came through that the first 2 games of the first round would be cancelled. And then it wasn't until the 16th, so 4 days later, that they officially cancelled the rest of the playoffs, and that's kind of all they did.
They went straight to a cancellation of the league, or did they first do like a postponement?
They cancelled the first 2 games of the first round of the finals and kind of like postponed the starting of it until nearly a week later. And then as it was getting to that week later point, they went, no, we're cancelling the rest of the playoffs. So effectively this year, nobody's won.
And so then you went home. Like when did you have to leave?
I left on last Monday. Pretty much right away I left. I was hoping to get home before the 14-day quarantine period, but missed out. So now I'm in quarantine currently.
Wait, so tell us about that. What did you have to do?
I have to self-isolate myself for 14 days. So just chilling in my house.
Have you ever boxed a kangaroo?
I have not. I have patted a kangaroo. I've never boxed a kangaroo. I wouldn't want to.
When's the last time you saw a kangaroo?
Well, I haven't been out of my house this time home, so probably over Christmas.
I want to see a kangaroo so bad.
Well, then come to Australia. You will see them everywhere if you go to the right spots.
She wants to say hello because she loves you.
Hi, Kat.
Hey, miss you.
How are you?
Good. Bored, but good.
Wait, a flight to Australia is only like $500 right now. And I think
you're not.
Do it
the problem
all
is you won't be able to get
just
to
go to
Australia.
Yeah, they wouldn't let us in though. Tourism is completely blocked. Is that right?
Yep.
I'm
They closed the
Australian.
borders.
I have a lighter in my pocket.
Take my passport, Justin.
So, Kat, pending your injury, do you think you'll go back to Sweden, or what's the future look like for your volleyball?
Probably not for Sweden. I think the Elite Series in Sweden at the moment is struggling financially because of this coronavirus.
Okay.
So it will limit the amount of pros they can have anyway.
Do you mean the amount of pros that they can like pay for to come in?
Pay for, yeah. The club that I was at will be struggling for a while because of what's happening. Okay. And so I assume many of the clubs there as well will also be struggling.
But so while you're home, are you training with the national team? Because of course the Volleyroos the women, I think, were looking to go to the Olympics.
We went to the Olympic qualifiers at the start of the year. So we're over in Thailand playing in an attempt to get into the Olympics, which unfortunately we weren't able to make, but just making it to the qualifiers is a big thing for us. And the men's unfortunately didn't make it through either.
Will you still be training with the national team, or what's happening in the interim?
Well, at the moment, all interstate borders are closed really in Australia, so no one's traveling. We can't go to gyms. We can leave the house if you're going somewhere specific, but it's best to stay home and not go out.
We're really upset that you're not coming to the United States this summer, and I think you should reconsider. Just saying.
Well, maybe not now.
Yeah, well, is it even going to be going ahead?
USAV hasn't said anything. Like, what they're kind of postponing, and like we'll address it in a couple weeks. But as of now, I mean, guys like Carlo, Danny, what are we thinking about nationals? They're probably going to put it off, right?
USAV hasn't canceled or postponed any of their own events. They've desanctioned other events, but it's interesting. They haven't pulled the trigger on anything that they actually run and that they make sufficient amount of money on. I don't think that's going to be happening in anytime soon. I think they'll probably wait last minute, if anything.
For an event like USAV, do you think this is something that we should put off until there's a better time, like suspend it for a month or two, or should we just straight up postpone until a year and just?
Well, here's the thing with the. I said they didn't postpone anything. They actually postponed their 18s JOs. So they pushed that back into May. It's still in Las Vegas. So I think kind of going back to your point, they are postponing things. I don't see them canceling. I mean, think about it. If you're an 18s player and they cancel your nationals, that's it. You're done. And for those players that are looking to get recruited, like that haven't gotten recruited yet, and are looking forward to going to JOs, I think that's a tough decision that USAV has to make. And like I said, I don't think it's going to happen early. I think it's going to happen really late. If the situation does get worse.
Kat, we're gonna transition over to Mackenzie and Haley. We got people.
Stay on the call.
Before you go,
Okay,
I have a question for you. We got one question before you go. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
One horse-sized duck.
Are you kidding?
That's what Australia's supposed to say.
That's terrifying.
That's scary.
No,
Imagine.
Australian kangaroos. They are basically
Ride the damn duck. It'd be flying you around. It'd be great.
I mean, Australia does have the most dangerous animals.
That's
right?
such
Isn't
an
that a thing?
Australian.
Fight it.
Kat, thank you so much.